Hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of The Creative Pause. My name is Susan Padron, and I'm here with my co-host, who I will allow to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stacey Faye. It's so good to be with you today as we get into our episode of The Creative Pause. And we're always here to provide a smile and a time of calm and peace in your day, which we know can be hard to find with the times that we're all traversing right now. So we're very excited today because we have Miss Rachel with us, who is going to help us create some beautiful products for our bodies that can make us feel good and smell good and, just sort of feel like we're taking care of ourselves in this time. And we will introduce Rachel more formally in a moment. But before we do, we always start out our episodes by just asking how you're doing and doing a check-in. We think it's important to talk about that. And even if you're having a great day, there's sometimes where on an episode you might not be. So either way, we want to have those feelings be able to be, aired out a little bit. So I will share, Susan will share, and Rachel will also share a little bit. And we invite you at home to take whatever time is needed to check in with yourself. Maybe sit outside for 5 minutes and think about how you're doing, or journal about it, or just talk to a friend or a partner about it. It's important, in the time we're in, to just do that mental check-in. So, my day is interesting. It's one of those days, and I know Susan and Rachel and lots of people out there will relate to this. Probably Rachel in particular, because she has 4 children. So she's managing like 4 times my amount of children. But today's one of those days where I feel like I'm running all over the place. Since we're in the pandemic, I don't have any childcare. I normally have at least a few hours a day of childcare, which helps me focus on my business or, other things that I need to get done. And, myself, like many women, are in the situation now where the sort of business has to be put on hold to a large extent to focus just entirely on child, parenting and being there for our children, all the time. And I'm really actually enjoying the time with my son quite a lot, but there definitely are days like today where, I texted Susan probably like just a few minutes before this episode. I was like, my son's trying to go to the potty and like he's right in the middle of it and you can't rush that, right? Like you have to just, so, the hope is like, all right, like hopefully he goes to the potty so I can hop on and do the creative pause in time. And so it leads to a kind of comical, but definitely stressful set of moments where you're just trying to balance as best you can parenting with your business, with your passions, and with, a sense of self as you move through it. So so I'm definitely feeling feeling the strain of that today and trying to try my best to take it moment by moment where I can. So how are you doing, Susan?
I'm doing okay. I did laugh when you sent me that text about, the potty situation, because I definitely remember those days very well. And the frustration and the fact that you cannot rush it is it's a very real feeling. But for me, I'm doing okay today. I placed some like grocery orders that I was able to do like a curbside pickup kind of thing for like one of the local farms near us. And so I went with my son, and our dog came with us because why not? And it was strange and nice at the same time because we were able to like get out of the house, which was nice, and go for a drive, which like I haven't driven anywhere and I don't remember when, because Tony's been taking care of like any of the errands that we need to run because he's still working, so he's out of the house anyway. And so it was nice to get out of the house, and it was nice to see this particular farm because it's a farm that's maybe like 15 minutes from our house. And we usually have like a membership there because they have a lot of things for our kids to do in terms of like being outside and like feeding animals and hay rides. It's a really great place. And obviously they're only providing like produce and what they carry in the market right now. And you can't like actually go and visit the farm itself. But so it was nice to see the farm because when it's nice out, like during this time of year, really like the end of March through December, we're there like once a week usually, or like in the summer more than that. because it's just one of our son's like favorite places. So it was nice to be there, but it was just strange going there and not being able to go and explore and seeing people like dropping off the groceries and everything in our trunk and not being able to get out of the car, and just like waving to the animals in the petting zoo as or not the petting zoo, sorry, the like farm area, when we were walking or driving by. So yeah, it was kind of like a mixture of feelings for sure. And I'm happy to be able to support them still, because I don't know like what we would do if that farm was no longer in existence, once we're allowed to be out of our homes and go to places like that again. So it was nice to be able to continue to support them. And we were doing a crop share with them too, which starts soon, and I like cannot wait for that. Very excited. But Rachel, how are you?
This has been like super crazy. You had mentioned, Stacey had mentioned I have 4 kids. And they're 7, 5, 3, and 1. So having everybody home right now can be really, really loud and stressful. I'm a homebody. Especially in the wintertime, my youngest son has a respiratory defect, so we kind of go on like lockdown anyway in the wintertime to avoid germs and things like that. So being home has been okay for me because I'm kind of used to it. But right now I feel really good because my husband, to be perfectly honest with you, my husband took the kids out of the house. So the house is quiet. I'm by myself. Like I showered, I did my hair, like, so I feel right now, I feel okay. It's a moment by moment thing with as many kids as I have, who's happy, who's not. And so I'm sure when they come back in, that's going to change. But right now I feel okay. I'm grateful for the support of our community. Our business is still open. So, we've been doing okay, and I'm just really, really grateful to everybody who's been coming to eat at our restaurant. We'll take out food at our restaurant, and yeah, I'm okay. I'm grateful. And I'm enjoying this space right now.
Yeah, I think having that like quiet time and that alone time when you do have a house full of kids or even just one child, it's so nice when the house is just quiet, especially with how things are now, where it's like, yes, of course grateful to have the extra time with our families, but when you're not getting that like moment to yourself anymore, you just appreciate it so much more. I think. So I'm glad that, by doing the show today that you're able to have that time. So I think that's pretty great. Enjoy it. Hopefully your husband keeps the kids out after.
He's like, text me when you're done. I was like, okay.
Yeah, just wait a while. Yeah, you'll be done in like 2 hours. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so I am going to share my screen so I can show the quote that Rachel shared with us. So just give me a quick second to pull that up. All right. So the quote says, "They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds." And Rachel, can you share why you chose that quote to share with us today?
Yeah, there are 100 songs, 100 music like quotes and lines that are meaningful to me. But this one I found last year, sort of by accident. I was researching, I had an idea for a tattoo. I have a lot of tattoos. And in some of my research for a design that I was interested in, I actually stumbled upon this quote. And I just thought that it was really beautiful, and it kind of came at a time for me where I was learning where I really needed to be as far as my headspace for what I wanted, and being grateful for what I have, and not just looking at what I don't have that I want. So really learning that like centering space. And I found this quote, and I just thought that it was so beautiful because for me, they tried to bury us, could be anything. It could be your emotions. It could be feelings of inadequacy. It could be feelings of want. It could be feelings of sadness, any of those things. But if you look at it in a way that is more of, this is a learning experience for you, and you're going to grow from this really difficult time that you're in. I thought it was really beautiful. I ended up getting a tattoo to kind of go along with that. So I just thought it was a great quote, and I think almost anybody could adapt that to a situation that they might be in. So I really loved it. I thought it was just a really beautiful quote.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's so relevant now, but again, it's something that can really hold powerful meaning even beyond these times. And I love that it can be applied to so many different things too. It's really special. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, I'm very excited to formally introduce Rachel Beata with us here today. Rachel has many different roles in her life. Some of you may know her from Queen Bee Botanicals, which is a business she launched recently, where she has beautiful products, everything from lip balms to brow. I think it's called brow balm, right? Or brow like shaper. Yeah. And like mists with crystals in them, and just so many beautiful products that not only work really well, but they're all holistic and naturally based. They're made by her, every single one is made by her in her home. And many of them are done with like an infusion of good energy and intention and all the things that we need right now. So Queen Bee is Rachel's business, but she also is a mother of 4 children, as you heard her mention. So Nicolo, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. Luna, Aurora, and Lorenzo. So 4 great names. And she credits her children in large part for the inspiration behind the business, particularly to find safe, effective, naturally based products for the family and home. So that's sort of the inspiration behind Queen Bee. And she also calls her one child Luna Queen Bee and has for a long time. So Luna sort of is some of the inspiration too behind the product line. And so, yeah, you can find Rachel online. We'll talk about that at the end of how best to find her, and we'll link her all up, in the episode notes. But today she's here to help us make some beautiful products, a rose mist and several scrubs, and talk with us also about how we can use real flowers in creating that mist. So I'm very excited to have her here today, and you can take it away, Rachel.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here. This is so exciting for me. You mentioned in how I kind of came up with this business. It's funny because my whole life, I remember kind of stealing things from the kitchen at my mom's house when we were growing up, and making things myself. I'm a bargain shopper. So, my thing is like, if I see something that I really like, but I'm pretty sure I can make it for less expensive than I can buy it, I'm going to try. So I was always the one like rifling through my mom's refrigerator and taking the sugar and all the baking soda and that kind of stuff to make myself scrubs and masks and, that kind of thing. So I've always loved, and I've loved to create. I'm a creative person by nature. I used to draw in high school. That's kind of my outlet. I love to be crafty and that kind of thing. So especially when I had my kids, I decided that I wasn't comfortable anymore with some of these questionable ingredients, and I really wanted to find a way to bring things into my home that made me feel safer for what I'm putting on myself and my family. And I'm an avid essential oil user, and so everything kind of just came together. I started having people reaching out saying like, hey, I saw you made such and such, could you make one for me? And so I kind of, even though it was really scary for me and still is, kind of dove right in and decided that I was going to really give it the good old college try and, you know, see where this kind of goes. So, yeah, so I just started creating, you know, things that I would want in the hopes that that's also something that would speak to somebody else. So today, I kind of thought it would be really fun. I love to use flowers, dried flowers, in a lot of my creations. I make a calendula butter for like really, really dry skin, and in every one there's a dried calendula flower. All through my house, in my windows, you'll see flowers hanging upside down, drying. And they're beautiful. So I kind of thought that would be a really cool thing for us to kind of look at today. So I'm going to fix my screen so I can show you. I think the first thing we'll start with is a rosewater mist. Rosewater is really, really great for your skin. You can apply it just anytime during the day to refresh yourself and your skin. You can apply it after you put on your makeup, kind of for that dewy finish to kind of set everything. If you added essential oils, it could double as a body mist, almost like a clean perfume. And it's really easy to make. So, and I think sometimes people wouldn't consider that to be something really easy to make, but I found a really, really simple way to do it. So I wanted to show, I'm going to turn on my kettle. So the first thing that you need is hot water and any fresh roses that you have. Get a bouquet of roses, pull a couple out and put them, you know, to the side. So I'm going to bend you down here so you can see what we're doing.
It's such a beautiful setup. I'm already so excited.
Thank you. So all of these little roses, I have these little dried guys, I'm going to move them out of the way so you can see what we're doing. All you do, so there's a couple ways that you could do this, but this one I thought was just really simple. It's really easy. You just take your roses and you literally just pull their little tops off and separate the petals as you fill a jar. You can fill a jar, you could put this in a bowl, whatever you have. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything special. I hoard mason jars, so everything in my life is in a mason jar. So, roses, I broke, let's see. And pull off all the petals and fill up your jar. Then the more color in your roses, so like a very red rose or a pink rose, is going to impart more of that pink color in your rose water. So I like to use those because I like to, you know, there's that visual appeal of seeing the pink for me that I think is really beautiful. So I like to use some of the brighter colored ones.
And it looks like you're using about 5 roses there. Like, is there a certain number you need to use, or does it not matter?
No, there isn't at all, actually. I would just, whatever your vessel is that you would like to use, just fill it loosely. You don't even have to really pack them down. I used 4 in this one. So you just want to fill it like that. And then you take your boiling water. You just pour it right over your roses. I would add just enough water to like cover the top of your roses. There's no measuring, there's no specifics here, just cover the top of your roses. And then I would just give them a little stir in there. just make sure everybody gets down into the water. Once they get in the water, they wilt a little bit so they won't puff up too much over the top of the water. And then you just let that sit until it cools. So you can actually just kind of put this, we'll put this over here to the side. I'll put it back here so I don't accidentally knock it over. And you let that sit for a little bit until it gets cool enough that you can touch it. And I made one earlier, so I would have something that wasn't too warm to show you. But that's been sitting for maybe an hour, that's it. So it's really, really pink. And then you would just take, I'm gonna move you up so you can see here that I'm pouring it. So another bowl, a larger mason jar if you have that. And this happens to be a nut milk bag, but you could use cheesecloth. If you wanted to use a smaller, like regular sized mason jar, you put a coffee filter on top of it and really slowly pour the roses over that. Anything just to, honestly, you could probably just use your hand if you wanted to and strain the roses out. Doesn't have to be anything fancy at all. But if you happen to have a nut milk bag or cheesecloth, you just pour the mixture out. A couple little guys still hanging in there. And it's better, obviously, to do this when it's cool because then you won't burn your hands or anything. But you just give your roses a squeeze.
I imagine that must smell really strongly of roses.
It's not super, super strong. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, but the color, I'm gonna pour this back in here. The color is gorgeous of that. I don't know. That is it's so pretty.
Yeah, I can't believe how like saturated the color is. Like it's a really vibrant, like beautiful red.
Yeah, and the roses, I only used 2 roses for this one because it was a small jar. And I used a very dark red rose like that. And then I happened to have one that was a little more on the pink side. So they were pretty dark roses to begin with. This one has a little bit more of a mix of colors. So that one might come up a little bit lighter than this one would. But again, the color isn't as important. It's just visually, I like the darker color. So with this, once it's cooled and you can handle it, the thing with the rose water is because there's no preservatives in this at all. So this is completely natural. You're using just boiled water. This is going to keep for a week or 2 if you keep it in your refrigerator. So I like to make smaller quantities so that I feel like I'm not being wasteful of the rose water. So even 1 or 2 roses to get you through would be fine rather than making a really large batch of rose water. So I would take this. I buy these little spray bottles. These are little small guys, but you could get whatever size you want. I find these on Amazon. You can kind of find them. You could probably find them in health food stores, like a one-off, like 1 or 2 of them at a time. Let them clear because I like to see what's inside. So for this, I would put, I'm going to go ahead and put some rose quartz in the bottom of these. I don't know if you guys can really see those.
And where do you get little rose quartz pieces like that typically?
I have sourced some of them from Gem Shop or and there is one here in Delaware County in Media that sells little tiny crystals like that. So some of them, the essential oil websites also sell the vials. All different kinds of them. In Media actually sells some of them. So you would take just a couple, however many you like. in there, just in the bottom. And then, let's see if I can do this without spilling. Let me go get, let me see if I have it here in front of me. I have my funnel. Okay. So we're probably going to spill a little, but I'm all right with that. You would, if you had a funnel, you would do that. But otherwise, you just fill up your little sprayer with your rose water. And there you go. There you have it. Tiny little rose water. Nice little spray there. Use essential oils, and would like to add some oils to that, you absolutely could. If you're going to use it for your face, I would put rose, if you had it, would be really beautiful. But this, just as it is really, really beautiful, and perfect just to keep in your fridge and just kind of spray it whenever you need a little pick-me-up there. And these are great as gifts. I mean, you could make a couple and just drop them off to friends. And for me, I love beautiful things for myself. But I like to give people out. It's as much about something that works and is efficient in whatever you need it to do, as it is about that item being beautiful to look at. So I just think that just is so sweet. So there's a little rose water, and then you could probably, maybe I'll do a little more research. I wonder if you could freeze these, because it is just rose water. I mean, you put it in ice cube trays. This way you have a batch, and you can pull it out whenever you need a fresh refill. So that's something we could try. I'm gonna put that back here so I don't knock it over. Let's do. So the next thing I'd like to show you guys how to do a really quick sugar scrub. But before I do that, since we're kind of dealing with the roses here, I wanted to share, this isn't something that's going to be like an immediate, we get to enjoy it. But one of the things that I kind of love the most, especially when I'm creating items for Queen Bee, is I like to infuse carrier oils with an herb or a flower for its medicinal purposes. So I had mentioned before the healing calendula butter that I use. Generally, I take dried calendula flowers and I solar infuse them in a jar for like 2 weeks before I make any products with it. So I thought it might be nice to show you how to make a rose-infused oil. It's really, really easy, but the simple act of seeing it every day, taking it off my windowsill, giving it a shake and putting it back, and just watching that progress is it's just really, it's really satisfying. And then when you're finally ready to use it, to know that you tended to it and you waited so long to use it is really satisfying. So I have these little dried roses. Now for this, I do tend to buy them dried, like in a big bag. So these guys are kind of small, little dried flowers. But if you happen to have a bouquet of flowers that you're finished with and are kind of looking a little wilty, you can take whatever stems you have and just hang them upside down. Get a piece of cooking, like cooking string or yarn, whatever you have. Give it a tie, wrap it around the stems, and just hang it anywhere to dry for a week or two. And you'll see them get all, you know, all crispy and stuff like that. But they're beautiful. That's another thing. It's just really beautiful to be able to walk through your home and, you know, you have dried flowers, dried herbs or flowers if you like to do that. Or if you have a bouquet, I would just take whatever you have out of there, invert them like this, give them a hang, and you can dry them yourself. If you happen to have your dried flowers, you could just take another little mason jar. Like if you're going to recycle, I love to recycle and kind of reuse jars that I have. So oftentimes I'll keep the little baby food jars with my kids done with them, and I'll just use those instead, especially if I'm only making a small quantity of a certain infused oil. But the ratios are really simple for this too. I would just do 1 part whatever your dried herb or flower is to 2 parts whatever your oil choice is. So I'm going to turn this down so you can see what I'm doing here. So for this one, I'm going to use my dried roses. And I'm just going to put them in the bottom there, about halfway, like that. And I'm going to use sweet almond oil because that's what I have on hand. It's a really nice light oil, and it lends itself to being used on the face. It's really nice. So I like this. You could use jojoba oil. You could use olive oil if you wanted to use something like for your seeded coconut oil also could work. Sunflower seed oil, there's lots and lots of base carrier oils that you can use. But I happen to have this on hand, so I'm going to use this. Take this guy out. And you just pour your oil over. Make sure everybody's coated. Put the lid on. Give it a little shake. And then that's ready to go on your windowsill for maybe a week or 2. And every day I'll just go over and give it a shake and move everybody around a little bit, and I'll put it back. And at the end of 2 weeks, you could, especially this, you could use this. I think it was the episode yesterday, one of your previous episodes, they were talking about double cleansing. So if you wanted to do something where you could do like an oil cleanse before to remove your makeup, something like this would be really, really beautiful to use before you washed with like a cleanser. So yeah, you can just let that sit on your windowsill for a little while and let that do its thing. And then this oil could be used on your body. You could use this in a sugar scrub. So yeah, I love that. And you use dried, I get this question a lot, and it's worth mentioning. I use dried flowers because there's no moisture. So in an oil, moisture could breed bacteria. So you don't want to use a fresh flower because there's so much moisture in the petals that in an oil, it could create bacteria. So that's why you have to make sure anything that you put in is really, really dry, and why we don't use fresh roses for something like this, but we would use fresh roses for our water, for our distilled, which is also why that's only good for like a week or 2, because any longer it could get a little dicey. So yeah, that's our little, this can be our project. We can just go back and check this every, when we need a little pick-me-up. So that's that. And then, do you guys have any questions?
No, this is great. I love how everything's very easy, first of all, but then you also have a bit of a process to it so that you can kind of see it over time transform into something. Like I love that combination, because it seems like a lot of times when there's like a transformation process of something, it takes a lot of ingredients, a lot of time to make it. And this is like the combination of the best of both worlds, I feel like, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There is something really satisfying about working on something that takes a little while, but at the same time, I think we all kind of want, like the Rosewater is a real nice, real quick, you get what you're looking for and you can use it right away. So I like that, the difference in those items, being able to use the same flower, for 2 different applications, basic scrub. So I thought I'm a big, I mean, I have 4 kids. I drink a lot of coffee, like a lot. So I always have coffee grounds. So I thought this would be a really nice, easy scrub to do. I just have plain sugar. You could use, if you had brown sugar in the house, you could totally use brown sugar. I just have plain white granulated sugar, and these are my coffee grounds from this morning. I do like to use coffee grounds that have been run through the coffee machine, just because they're a little bit softer than the ones just straight from the can. But if you wanted to use, it totally use right from the can. But I do like the more delicate texture of ones that have been through the coffee machine already. So I'm going to use that, and you could use, again, any carrier oil that you have. I have some jojoba oil here, and then I also have the sweet almond oil. So you need a little bit of some kind of an oil, and then I suggest coconut, some coconut oil as well. Really no scientific, measurements here. I would just do equal parts of your coffee and equal parts of your sugar. Give them a little stir. And a little squeeze of whatever your liquid oil is. And go in with, again, probably, I would say about as much as you used of the dry ingredients of the coconut oil. Just drop that in there. And then really you just, move this here so I can kind of show you. You really just go in and kind of mash it all together. All incorporated in your coconut oil. I prefer a thicker sugar scrub because when I'm using them, usually I'm standing like in the shower, so my skin is already damp, and there might be water that gets kind of, mixed in. So I do prefer something that's a little bit thicker and drier than somebody else might like. So again, with this, it's totally customizable. Whatever you prefer is good. So that's kind of it. It comes out like this. Do it here. Like a scrub like that. And it's the coconut oil makes it really, really moisturizing to your skin. And it's got if you're delicate with it and you're really light-handed when you scrub, it's a really, really nice, just exfoliating texture. And this would be suitable for any part of your body. I would even venture so much to say that you could use it on your face if you were extra nice to your face, and you don't have like super sensitive skin. I would not hesitate at all to just rub that all over my face. So you can use that on any part of your body. I'm just going to rinse this off really fast. And then, because all of those things are shelf stable, the coconut oil and everything like that, you could take one of your little handy mason jars or your baby food jars or whatever you have. Just put it right in your jar. And I would just put a lid on that and take it right to my bathroom and leave it right on the side of the tub for whenever I'm ready to use it. It smells really good.
And how long does that last?
So generally the rule of thumb is it'll last as long as your shelf stable items would last. So coffee grounds I mean, it's just water and coffee. So I would say at least a week if you're going to use like ones that have been used already. Sugar, that's shelf stable for who knows how long. And coconut oil, I believe from the time you open it, I mean, I think it's at least, it's over a year at least. The coconut oil is technically good. So it's really just the sum of all of your ingredients is how long I would suggest keeping it. You can preserve anything that you're using with coconut oil or some of the carrier oils for longer by storing it in the refrigerator. But just know that whether if you store it in the fridge, your coconut oil is going to be solid or harder when you bring it out. So you might want to give it an extra minute or two before you use it. And in the same way, if you keep it like next to your tub like I do, you might notice that it's a little bit, that it melts a little bit because of the change in the texture or the change in the temperature. So its efficacy or you being able to use it at all, you could always just add a little bit more sugar or a little bit more coffee to thicken it up if you wanted to. So that would last a while. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to use this at least a week or two if I kept it upstairs in my bathroom, for sure. You could use it as a lip scrub.
I'm like dying to make that already. I make coffee in my house all the time. And I was like, I have coconut oil, like we have sugar. Rachel, do you have specific places where you would recommend buying the more like liquid oils that you've been suggesting?
So you could buy them at any of your like natural foods, like natural food stores. My biggest thing is I do try to look as much as I can for organic products. And when you're talking about certain carrier oils, if you can find it unrefined, cold pressed, so with as little kind of manipulation as possible is kind of where I try to stay, because then it just retains what makes it really good. I do have things that I use, for the most part, I use an unrefined coconut oil, but it has that coconut smell. So I do have a body butter that I scent with essential oils. So I do use a refined coconut oil for that. It's totally fine. I'm looking in that product to be able to impart a scent. So I'm okay with using a refined coconut oil. But really, I would say it's really making sure that your ingredients are as pure as possible versus kind of specifically where I get them. So.
Thank you. That definitely helps.
When I had a quick question, Rachel, about the flowers. So if you didn't have roses on hand, are there other flowers you've used or you think would be particularly good to use for a mist or even for, what you did with putting the flowers in the oil? Yeah, because I'm thinking like outside my house, I have various flowers growing, but I don't have roses, like unless I order them or like get them in an arrangement. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, to be honest, if I'm using flowers in an essential oil blend, I have been known to take whatever flowers I have in an arrangement and dry them. But if you're going to make an oil infusion, I generally do try to stick to flowers that have a medicinal background or medicinal purpose. So I love to use calendula flowers. That's a really healing flower, and it's really great for skin. Dandelion flowers are actually really great for skin too. You could use roses, you could use, I'm trying to think of what else would be really helpful. I mean, you can definitely forage outside. I have hand-picked violets from my yard to dry, to use. Part of kind of doing all of this is I love to gather information. So for me, I'd go on Pinterest or Google and just say, type in medicinal uses for flowers and see which ones you could use. I do tend to stick to dandelion, calendula, and rose for a lot of the products that I make because of the benefits that they have for the skin in particular.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Susan, are there any other questions that come to mind for you?
No, I'm just excited to make everything that you're showing us. Like it all just looks so beautiful, and like just I love the process behind everything. You know, like Stacey was saying earlier too about how everything there's just a lot of love that goes into it and like nurturing, and that really comes through, Rachel, and watching you create these like products. So I'm excited to experiment with some of that myself too. So thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. And it made me think I wanted to show you. So this is still warm to the touch, but you can see the color of that already. That's like a true rose gold. And you could totally drain this right now if that's the color you like. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, I mean that in and of itself is beautiful to look at. Like before you strain it and put it into the bottles and all of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rachel. I would love for you, if you have any parting words, you're free to share those. And then also, where can people find you? What's the best way to follow Queen Bee and what you're doing?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. This was so nice. And really, just, it was good for my soul right now during this, to do this and to be able to kind of share this, because I do love it. And so much of this is something that we all can do. So thank you for having me, and I really appreciate it. And you can find me on Facebook at Queen Bee Botanical, and you can find me on Etsy, Queen Bee Botanicals, and Instagram at it's Queen Bee and then an _ botanicals. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I've been loving following you on social media because you can see Rachel show some behind the scenes of what she's doing and how she's making things and new formulations. And it's exciting to see it, like just to kind of watch the process unfold of both you growing your business, but also how you make this stuff. I just find it fascinating. So yes, I definitely recommend finding Rachel there. And we will of course link all of this up in the episode page also, so you all can find it there. And yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We always end our show with the same Mary Oliver quote that we think is inspiring and is sort of a call to action in this time, which is, what will you do with your one wild and precious life? So thank you all for being here and for tuning in. We hope that you really enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Thank you. See ya.